What's everybody up? Peter Bartell, Pigskin Petey here, recording another episode, this time on Shedeur Sanders. If you've seen my tweets, I've been playing a lot with this guy. Not sorry. It's fun. It's sports. So it's intriguing. I'm guilty as everyone. I thought, or guilty like many, I thought he'd be a first round pick. I thought somebody would jump. He was not. He fell to the fifth. And now here we sit, and my opinion has changed, as it does with sports and things that happen. I think there's a good chance Shedeur may be cut for the 2025 NFL season. Let me know what you think in the comments here. Like the episode if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it. Curate your content. But thanks everybody for hopping on. I want to explain how Shedeur Sanders could be cut heading into the 2025 NFL season. Really intriguing, this because they drafted two quarterbacks, Dylan Gabriel from Oregon and Shedeur Sanders. So with a couple already on the roster, in addition to those, I want to get into why I think, he'll be cut potentially before the season even begins in training camp at some point. But to start to give context on this, Shedeur Sanders ended up being a fifth-round pick in the NFL draft. A lot of the speculation is he walked in interviews like he walked on water. The Giants had a story out there. There's different narratives out there you've seen of him just bringing his entourage in interviews, wearing headphones in interviews, not acting or taking it seriously, right? When you combine that with your dad, Deion Sanders, who everybody knows at this point, it's out there, he's tried to demand or dictate where his son played professional football. You put not just your dad trying to dictate where you go, but your antics, which are portraying you negatively, put those two together, that's not a good combination. So that devalues you not once over, but twice over, right? I'll use Johnny Manziel as an example. He was devalued once over, right? Because of character issues off the field, obviously, everything he was posting and doing, and now we find out it was definitely factual once his own Untold documentary came out. But he was a talent, right? Just like Shedeur, super talented. I actually see a lot of comparisons in those two. The difference with him and Shedeur is Johnny had a drug problem, an alcohol problem. Shedeur has he does not have that, right? But Johnny had the talent, and Johnny didn't have a parent. That's the other half of it, right? Trying to double negative, like dictate where his son plays college. And even if he did have his parent doing that, his parent doesn't have the same kind of voice that Deion Sanders does, the same kind of public figure. So that's why I've sounded off on this before. Deion needed to realize before the draft, I recorded this 2 weeks prior, you can see it, he needed to shut his mouth. And that's exactly what I titled the episode pretty much. I said Deion Sanders needs to stop in caps. That's why we saw it. He dropped to the fifth round. I did not think he would drop that far. I thought if he doesn't get drafted at 2, the Browns had that pick, he's going to potentially fall to later in the first round, mid-first round. I tweeted out, of course, you get the people coming in the mentions that, need to build themselves up off of somebody getting something wrong. And they're like, oh, you were wrong. You don't know anything. No, it's my opinion. Sometimes we're right. Sometimes we're wrong. And that's what I said in reply. But anyways, I thought at that point he would fall to like nowhere below 21 where the Steelers were picking, needed a QB, still need a QB. But I said somebody's going to jump, whether it's the Steelers trading up to get him or another team. That didn't happen. And case in point, it wasn't just Shedeur's, I don't know. I guess I don't know the best word for it. Like his arrogance shows, and he's not the only arrogant player to ever play. Look at Johnny Manziel throwing up the money sign before every touchdown, right? Or after every touchdown. Like that's arrogance. Okay, cool. Johnny slid because of arrogance and off-field issues, right? Shedeur slid not just because of arrogance, no off-field issues, but poor interviewing, and then a father that is trying to dictate where you're going. That's going to make anyone slide. The potential pro here, and you're seeing is I got his best plays of 2024 going on in the background of the episode. The potential pro here is what you're seeing. He's super talented. I think he threw for, I got the stats here, 37 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. And his completion percentage was 74%. And Saban sounded off on that on ESPN when they were doing coverage before Shedeur got drafted. He said, look, his line was awful. If you give this guy time, he's not going to have to scramble. He's going to be able to stay in the pocket. And when he stays in the pocket, he's a very, very accurate passer. So I applauded that logic from Saban, but nonetheless, here we sit. He slides to the 5th round because of that. I had seen recently, it surfaced on social media, I think Shiloh, his brother, was right beside him. And he just said, I just want a ball, when they asked him if he was going to do rap videos or whatever. And he said, I just want a ball. This is after he got drafted, I think. So, and the body language when he was sitting there was like, to me, like, yeah, I don't doubt that now, that he just wants the ball. No rap videos, no nothing, because he said he's like done with that. He's been doing, but it may be too late. Like, I think a lot of people are glad that this 5th round pick, instead of what could have been a 1st round, is a dose of humble pie, right? And I think you saw it on his face in that moment in that social media clip that I saw. Like, that was humble pie right there. Holy cow. This guy knows that he is not the bee's knees anymore. His dad's not coaching him, JV varsity, Jackson State, HBCU, and then FBS with Colorado. Like, you're on your own, buddy. And I think he finally figured that out, right? I'm sure that prank call that went viral got in his head a little bit too. What anybody, and I'm not saying that that's right. I don't applaud that. I just tweeted to see what people think on that. Let me know in the comments what you think, but that was awful. There's a line that was crossed. But aside from that, you know, it just kind of shows that it may be too late. Like, I just want a ball. To me, that shows, okay, good. I think he understands. I think. But this is what we thought about Manziel. Maybe the light bulb will go off once he gets drafted in the NFL and he slid in the 1st round. Because Manziel, let's be honest, he was also, like, he was a 1st round talent, no questions asked. I think he fell to 24th in the 1st round. But talent-wise, I mean, the guy won the Heisman Trophy. He was supposed to go, like, top 10 if you just look at the talent. But he slid because of the character issues. And Shedeur, like, same kind of thing a little bit. Not drug problems, not alcohol problems, not party problems necessarily, but, you know, he's got an ego to him, some arrogance, and that's good to a degree, right? But then you compound it again with his dad, and it's like, what organization wants to risk that at a high draft pick, especially when the QB class is absolutely loaded next year? So anyways, the reasons, aside from like his dad and him and the combination of being cut, is he's a 5th round draft pick. Those are very susceptible to being cut by teams. I don't know the numbers on like rounds per year, how many were cut or made NFL rosters. I do know, I did hear on ESPN, QPs drafted in the 5th round or late, I think drafted 5th round exclusively, were like 0-43. So, or 0-42. So that was an interesting stat. That number, again, it's just a number, but that does not favor a guy like Shedeur Sanders. I do think, because of all these issues that obviously got to NFL GMs and owners and had them sway their decision to get him drafted when he was instead of sooner, if you just look at pure talent on screen and by the numbers, these are actual games, guys. Like, he's a good player. He's a very good player. I think he could have been a 1st or 2nd round talent. That could have been how they evaluated him, but it was all the other stuff. Again, just like Manziel, they can catch up to you. So I say that to say, now you have a situation in Cleveland too. Kenny Pickett, I think they just traded for him or maybe signed him from the Steelers. I forget which. Joe Flacco just announced he's not fazed by Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders being drafted. He's coming back. Then you have Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. NFL teams usually only keep 3 on a roster, 2 on game day, and then a 3rd guy for the practice squad, usually, sometimes 4, usually not, right? So you're looking at, okay, Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco presumably would be 1-2, right? Or keep those 2 in an order. Let's say that happens. Let's say at the beginning of the season they're 1-2 because Gabriel and Shedeur are rookies. Rookies are rookies. Doesn't matter the round a lot of times. They have a lot of development to do, right? Dillon Gabriel was the 3rd round pick, not the 5th round pick. So the way that the Browns are making a statement there is they think Gabriel is a better player just by draft pick than Shedeur Sanders. He's going to have a bigger contract as well. So obviously there's a little more risk and investment and money bet on, so to speak, Dillon Gabriel. You're bringing in Shedeur Sanders as your fourth quarterback. When only 3 make the roster, he's the lowest one on the totem pole right now, right? Flacco, we saw that resurrection a few years ago. He led into the playoffs once Deshaun Watson got hurt. I will disclaimer acknowledge Deshaun Watson. Yes, he's on the roster. He also just tore his Achilles tendon for, I think, the second time. He's probably not going to play football ever again in the NFL, and definitely not for the Cleveland Browns. So I'm actually just saying, yes, there's 4 quarterbacks around. Technically, there's 5. Deshaun ain't playing, let's be honest. He's just dead money to the Browns, unfortunately, at this point for their fans. But the 4 quarterbacks that are competing, Shedeur, in theory, is the lowest on the totem pole, right? Kenny Pickett is a former first-round pick from Pittsburgh, University of Pittsburgh, didn't work out for the Steelers. Joe Flacco, we just went over. Dillon Gabriel was drafted 2 rounds before Shedeur. Somebody's going to be on the outs. Actually, the CFL, I just saw it on 3, just came out and said they got Shedeur on their list or whatever. I'm sure he's not the only one on the list. I'm sure that's normal. But because it's Shedeur, it's kind of like, wow, this is a big thing. I jokingly said he's going to end up in the UFL. He's going to be in their drafts. He got drafted in the 5th round after that, but still, he was closer to not being drafted than being drafted in the 1st round, you know? So that really doesn't bode well odds-wise, and the fact that they took you as their 2nd quarterback in this draft. So watch out for that. Don't be surprised if he gets cut. And again, I really do hope he just wants the ball. But you have a very, very short leash in practice and preseason games. Remember, they don't do 2-a-days in the NFL anymore in fall camp. So training camp. So you have I think the sessions are like an hour and a half, 2 hours maybe on the field. Before, guys had several hours, 2-a-days, but the new NFL agreement and the Players Association, it allows for 1 practice a day. It's very pressure packed. If you're a rookie trying to make a roster, aka a 5th round draft pick, no matter your name, no matter your position, you are a 5th round draft pick. That's what the team drafted you. That's how they define you. You're solely on the bubble. So it's very pressure packed for him. Therefore, he's not a 1st round pick. So he's going to have a good performance in that game. He will get a lot of preseason action. He better get it together because Gabriel's coming in hot. You got Flacco and Pickett that are already sustained, right? I would think Pickett's an easy make of the roster. I think if anybody gets cut over Gabriel or Shedeur, I would think it's going to be Flacco just because of the age and if he's still got it or not, so to speak. Let me know what you think in the comments. But again, he's got if he doesn't do well in preseason, that makes the Browns' decision for him. Presumably, it's going to be either him or Gabriel that I would say doesn't do well in the preseason. I think the Browns were smart, disclaimer on this, because this is the first time, by the way, ever that they've taken 2 quarterbacks in the same draft. I looked it up. This is smart because if you know anything about the Browns, most of us do. Remember that comical photo that goes around in the jersey that has all the names crossed out of the quarterbacks that have failed there before. That's 30 long, starting with Tim Couch and then onward, right? Spurgeon Wynn and a bunch of other ones that have been starters that have not worked out. The only one you can argue that may have kind of worked out, Johnny Manziel's on the list too. Baker Mayfield kind of worked out for them. I think they made the playoffs once with him. But definitely not a successful long-term generational QB. They haven't had one. So I think playfully, yeah, okay, you draft 2, you have a better chance of finding the guy. And truthfully, seriously, I like that. I don't like the Browns draft overall, but from a QB position standpoint, trying to solidify, they hedged their bets twice over. They went with Gabriel and doubled down with Shedeur, and they said one of the two's got to work out long term. Even if it isn't for the starting position, as I mentioned this year, because they have to develop, they're hoping one of these 2 guys, both power 4 guys, can be the guy that they can groom and develop, even if they don't turn into the starter in year 1. And I hope they don't. I'm not a fan of starting quarterbacks as rookies year 1. I think at least a year on the bench to grow and develop and learn suits them way better than starting, no matter the situation. But I think that's, it's a competition. And I think the Browns did it right from the quarterback position. Say what you want to say about the rest of their draft, but Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders both had solid college numbers, solid college tape, and we'll see. The best man's gonna swim. I do believe Dillon Gabriel. By the way, his numbers were no slouch either. Remember, he started his career at UCF for 3 years, then he went to Oklahoma for 2, and then Oregon. This past year at Oregon, 3,857 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. So just like Shedeur, no slouch either. This is a serious competition. Therefore, hence the title on my episode. Shedeur could be cut. Don't be surprised if he's not. And I think this could be like a statement to the Browns, like, hey, we gave you a shot. We gave you a shot. And I don't blame them for the draft pick. Neither does my rooster. I think he deserved the shot. Look at the talent on the field. You've seen it as I'm talking here. Like, and Saban said the same. So Saban ain't lying. This guy's a good player. The thing is all the extra freaking stuff that comes with him. And don't think these NFL players like Myles Garrett and all those guys don't watch and hear the media and see it when they're on social media about Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur this, Shedeur that, Shedeur this, Shedeur that. Can you imagine being Myles Garrett, who just signed a massive contract extension, saying, hey, what do you think about Deion's comments on Shedeur in the locker room? Not like that, probably, but it's coming. It's coming. And this is not like Daddy Ball, Colorado anymore, Jackson State, high school, like I said. This is NFL sink or swim. This is a grown man's league. Deion, of all people, should know that. I mean, he's an NFL Hall of Famer. All pro. So, that would piss me off, if I'm Myles Garrett, and I have seen at least stories of like NFL players just want to knock his head off the first chance they get. It gives me Johnny Manziel vibes. Who didn't want to knock Johnny's head off, So Shedeur better humble himself, and it looks like he has with the I just want a ball type of comments, and just that body language, demeanor looks like a guy that had gotten humble pie. The question is it too late? These guys ain't going to forget. The only saving grace he may have a little bit for like guys having motivation against him, although they're his teammates in practice and stuff, is like time will pass between now and fall camp and the NFL preseason. He seriously has to live by what he's saying. Put his head down and work. That's it. I saw a video surface on social media the other day. I don't know if it was before or after he got drafted, but him partying, out there. That's what Manziel did, right? Stop that stuff. Yes, I get it. It's fine. It's surfacing now, whether it was before or after, but you can halt that real quick by just, again, doing what you said you want to do. You just want a ball. Okay, cool. That starts with the playbook. That starts with not going out. That starts with studying. That starts with not doing anything extracurricular besides your full-time job. The NFL quarterback is a job. Like, if you're, and I've heard this before, I think it was Tony Wiggins on Lockdown, like, good on him. Like, it wasn't Tony. It was another host on the show. I forget his name. But he made a good point, and he's a former scout. He said, look, like, all this talk about quarterbacks being the first in the room, or like he just wants to, do football or whatever. He was like, good, you should be the first in the room. You're the freaking quarterback. That tells me nothing. But you should be the first in the room and the last to leave. That's like a bare minimum. So I really hope Shedeur puts his head down and does all that. And just disclaimer on this, the reason I think he's more susceptible beyond the ranking and everything where he was drafted compared to Dillon and the other two, Pickett and Flacco, that are coming back, is like, he's pennies. Just a simple money thing. He's the lowest risk, highest reward, but lowest risk. If they have to cut him, they ain't cutting a first round draft pick who they just had to pay millions in a signing bonus to. You know what I mean? Look it up. Like, fifth round draft picks are cut all the time. 6th round, 7th round. You can see some 4th round cut preseason. But once you get in the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st, definitely they get like usually at least a year or two grace period before they axe him and let him go. Look at Kenny Pickett as an example. I think he got 2 years in Pittsburgh before they figured it out, but he got 2 years. So, let me know what you think in the chat, but definitely don't be surprised if this kid gets cut. And somebody might pick him up, right? That just depends. Like GM's talk and everything. Practice is not always film, but some of it is. And you get some tape on the guy there. You definitely get it in preseason. So if somebody likes what they see, they can pick him up for the practice squad, sign him in the practice squad, sign him in the active roster if they want. Injuries happen too. There's a bunch of variables. I mean, I'm sitting here saying, oh, well, probably it'd be Dylan or Shedeur. Well, what if Flacco gets hurt? What if Gabriel gets, or what if Pickett gets hurt? Then in theory, unless the trade happens, they're both on the team because now you got 3 quarterbacks. So there you go. But anyways, thanks everybody for listening, hopping in. Let me know again what you think in the comments. Follow my handle on X at PigskinPD. Right there, we got the Browns colors going on here. And like the episode if you like it. Everybody have a day good.